Defence Minister Rajnath Singh departs for Russia for a 3-day visit. The Defence Minister says the visit will provide an opportunity to deepen India-Russia defence and the strategic partnership. Raksha Mantri will attend the Grand Military Parade in Moscow to mark the 75th anniversary of the Soviet victory over Germany in the Second World War. Armed forces deployed along the LAC given full freedom to give a befitting response to any Chinese action. The Cocommander level officers of Indian and Chinese armies meet at the Chushul Moldo in the LAC. Supreme Court refers the plea for conducting Puri Jagannath Temple Rath Yatra to 3-judge bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, S.A. Bobde. Supreme Court had earlier stayed the Rath Yatra in keeping in view the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Union Home Minister Amit Shah leads Delhi's fight against COVID-19, holds a review meeting with the Union Health Minister, Delhi Lieutenant Governor and the Chief Minister attending. Delhi reports 3,000 fresh cases. The total cases in the national capital inch close to the 60,000 mark. India's recovery rate from COVID-19 stands at 55.77%, more than 2.37 lakh people cured. The number of active cases reached 1,74,387. The death toll stands at 13,699. And the WHO reports largest single-day increase of more than 1.83 lakh in the COVID-19 cases, taking the total global cases above 89.5 lakh. The global death toll reaches 4.68 lakh. US remains the worst affected with over 22.8 lakh cases. The death toll in Brazil crosses the 50,000 mark. Hello and good afternoon. You're watching Doordarshan News with me, Nancy Kohli. Our top story: Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has left for Moscow on a 3-day visit to attend the Victory Parade on the 24th of this month to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the victory in the Second World War. The parade is organized to honor the heroism and the sacrifices made by the Russian and other friendly people. A tri-service 75-member Indian military contingent has already reached Moscow to participate in the Victory Parade along with the Russian contingency and other invited contingents. The Indian participation in the Victory Day Parade will be a mark of tribute to the great sacrifices made by Russia and other nations in the Second World War, in which the Indian soldiers also participated and made supreme sacrifice. The Victory Parade was originally scheduled on the 9th of May but was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And moving on now, the Cocommander level meeting is underway between Indian and China and at the Moldo in Chinese side of the LAC. The meeting is being held to ease out the tensions along the line of actual control. After the violent face-off at the Galwan Valley, this is the first time that the Cocommander level talks are being held at Chushul Moldo border at the LAC. Both the sides had earlier held the major general level talks to reduce tensions at the line of actual control. And earlier on Sunday, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh reviewed the Ladakh border situation at a high-level meeting. The meeting was attended by the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, and the 3 service chiefs, Army Chief General M.M. Narawane, Navy Chief Admiral Karambir Singh, and the Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadoria. The armed forces deployed along the 3,500-kilometer LAC with China have been given full freedom to give a befitting response to any Chinese action. During the meeting, the Raksha Mantri told the top military officers to maintain a strict vigil on the Chinese activities around the land border, the airspace and in the strategic sea lanes. The armed forces were told to be fully ready to give a befitting reply to any Chinese misadventure. A tough approach is now being adopted to guard the border. And let's now go across to our correspondent Amritpal Singh, who is joining us from Leh on the Cocommander meeting. Amrit, good afternoon. Share with us the details that you're learning as far as the Cocommander level meeting is concerned, which is taking place. Amrit, if you could hear me. All right, we'll try and reconnect once again with Amrit as soon as we can have him back and get more inputs from him. But moving on now for the time being, an army jawan was martyred as Pakistani troops opened fire and lobbed mortar shells in forward areas along the line of control in the twin border districts of Rajouri and Poonch. The defense spokesperson has told Doordarshan News that the Army Jawan Havaldar Deepak Karki, guarding a forward post in the Naushara sector of Rajouri district, was critically injured after being hit by the cross-border shelling. He later succumbed to his injuries. He is the 4th Army personnel martyred in the Pakistani firing along the line of control in Rajouri and Poonch this month. And an encounter is underway in the forest area of Verina Kaparan area of Anantnag district of Jammu and Kashmir since this morning. The police and the security forces are conducting joint operation to neutralize the trapped terrorists. The encounter is still in progress and more details are awaited. All right, let's now go across to our correspondent Amrit, who is back with us, joining us with more inputs on the Cocommander meeting. Amrit, what more details can you share with us?
Well, I can tell you that these talks are going on at the military commander's level for de-escalating the LAC tensions. Basically, it was agreed upon at the 6th June meeting between the Monsoon commander of the Indian Army and the military commander of the South Xinjiang district that the de-escalation process, the disengagement process should be taken and both armies should disengage. After that, we saw the violent face-off that happened on the intervening night of 14th and 15th, even as the Chinese had promised to de-escalate. After that, several rounds of military talks have taken place at the divisional commander level, at the sector commander level. The battalion commanders on the ground have spoken to each other over the hotline. But this is again that the high-ranking talk is taking place so that the crisis or the standoff, which has now entered its 7th week, can be diffused.
Sure.
So this is what the commanders are looking at as they hold these talks at Moldo.
Okay. All right, Amrit, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing those details. We'll, of course, be coming back to you for more inputs on that. But for now, thanks very much. And moving on now to news coming in from Supreme Court, which has referred the plea for conducting the Puri Jagannath Temple Rath Yatra to 3-judge bench headed by the CJI and a bench headed by Justice Arun Mishra, before whom the centre mentioned the matter and sought modification of the 18 June order, told the lawyers that the CJI has agreed to set up a 3-judge bench for hearing the pleas, which has sought to allow the Rath Yatra with certain conditions. Earlier on, the centre had told the Apex Court that the Rath Yatra in Puri can be allowed without public participation in view of the COVID-19 pandemic, and said the tradition of centuries may not be stopped. The Odisha government has also supported the centre's stand in the Apex Court. Moving on now, Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Sunday chaired a high-level meeting to discuss the strategies to contain the spread of COVID-19 in the national capital, and the meeting was attended by the Union Minister of Health and Family Welfare, the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi. During the meeting, a report of Dr. V.K. Paul Committee on the containment strategy of COVID-19 in Delhi was presented. The committee set up by the Home Minister suggested several measures related to the containment strategy, including mapping of all the containment zones in Delhi again and the vigorous contact tracing of positive cases for quarantining. As per the plan proposed by Dr. V.K. Paul, every district in Delhi will be linked to a major hospital which will provide adequate help. Also, a serological survey will be conducted across Delhi from 27 June to 10th of July involving sample testing of 20,000 persons. The Union Home Minister has directed the Delhi government to conduct assessment in respect of every individual who's passed away as regards how many days before death the person was brought to hospital and from where. A special focus has also to be given about whether the person was in home isolation and whether the person was brought to hospital at the right time or not. Every death has to be reported to the Government of India. The Home Minister has also said that all the COVID-19 positive cases should be first referred to COVID centers, and those who have adequate facilities at home and do not suffer from any other comorbidities can only be allowed to stay in the home isolation. The government shall also be informed of the number of people kept in the home isolation. The Home Minister has also asked the Delhi government to implement the recommendations of the committee. The COVID-19 cases in Delhi have neared the 60,000 mark on Sunday, with 3 more people testing positive. And meanwhile, the recovery rate from COVID-19 has reached to 55.77% in the country as per the latest updates of the Health and the Family Welfare Ministry. Presently, the total number of active COVID-19 cases in the country are 1,74,387, while 2,37,195 people affected with the COVID-19 have been cured and discharged so far. Now, the next phase of the Operation Samudra Setu for repatriating Indian nationals from overseas began yesterday. The Indian Navy ship INS Airawat evacuated 198 Indian nationals from Malé and has departed last evening for Tuticorin. The ship reached Malé on 20th of June, after which medical checkups of all the passengers were done. All the basic amenities and medical facilities will be provided to evacuees during the sea passage. This is the 5th voyage by the Indian Navy ships as part of Samudra Setu program to bring back the Indian nationals from neighboring country. The Indian Navy has already repatriated 2,188 Indian nationals from Malé to Kochi and Tuticorin in the previous phases of the operation. And the Vande Bharat mission, one of the biggest evacuation drives in the world, continues to bring back Indians from all over the world. In the ongoing third phase of the mission, 2 special repatriation flights took off from Tokyo this morning. While one flight is bound to Chennai via Delhi, the other one will reach Trivandrum via Mumbai and Bengaluru. Earlier on, under the Vande Bharat mission, the Indian nationals stranded in Kyrgyzstan arrived at Indore's Devi Ahilyabai Holkar airport this morning. The flight left from Kyrgyzstan's Bishkek airport and arrived in Indore via New Delhi. This special flight carried many students who were studying abroad. The flight landed with 23 passengers in New Delhi, while 125 passengers arrived in Indore. These passengers will be quarantined in the respective districts. On the occasion, MP Shankar Lalwani also reached the airport and took stock of the arrangements and also gave necessary instructions to the administration. He said that the safety and security of all the citizens from COVID-19 is a priority. And moving on now to some weather news. Another spell of early morning rains made the weather pleasant in the national capital this morning. The Met Department has said that rains are going to continue over the next few days, with the monsoon expected to reach the city on Wednesday. The rains are a result of a trough running from North Punjab to Northwest Bay of Bengal across Haryana, South Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand and the North Coastal Odisha. According to the Met Department, on and off pre-monsoon rains are going to continue in the national capital on Monday and Tuesday. The monsoon will reach the city by Wednesday after covering the western Uttar Pradesh. The Met Department has predicted normal rainfall for Delhi this monsoon season. And the Indian Met Department has said that the conditions becoming favorable for further advance of southwest monsoon into some more parts of Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand from tomorrow. The monsoon will reach the entire western Himalayan region, Haryana, Chandigarh and Delhi, most parts of Punjab and some parts of Rajasthan during 24th and 25th of June. The Met Department added that the widespread rainfall with isolated heavy to very heavy rainfall is likely to continue over northeast India during the next 5 days and over east and adjoining central India during the next 2 to 3 days. Widespread rainfall activity with isolated heavy to very heavy falls is also very likely over the western Himalayan region, Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and East Rajasthan from tomorrow onwards. A medium-intensity earthquake rocked Mizoram and surrounding northeastern states early this morning, according to the Regional Seismic Center. The earthquake of magnitude 5.3 on the Richter scale hit at around 4:10 in the morning and was tracked at a depth of 20 kilometers from the Earth's surface, the epicenter being Champhai in Mizoram. There was no report of any casualty or any damage to property in any of the states so far. And Prime Minister Modi spoke with the Mizoram Chief Minister on the situation in the wake of the earthquake there. The Prime Minister assured the Mizoram Chief Minister of all the possible support from the centre. And the Union Home Minister Amit Shah also spoke with the Mizoram Chief Minister to review the situation after the earthquake tremors in the state. He assured the Mizoram Chief Minister of all the possible support from the central government and prayed for everyone's safety and well-being. The Mizoram Chief Minister in a tweet said that 2 earthquakes rocked the northeastern state within a span of 12 hours. The damage assessment undertaken by the concerned MLA and the district administration. Fortunately, no casualties reported so far. He also thanked Prime Minister Modi and the Union Home Minister Amit Shah for their assurance of support. And a moderate earthquake of 5.8 magnitude also jolted Dhaka and several other parts of Bangladesh this morning. According to the Bangladesh Met Department, the 5.8 magnitude earthquake took place at around 4:40. It was centered on the India-Myanmar region, 301 kilometers southeast of Dhaka. No damage to property or casualty has been reported from anywhere so far. And time now for us to check the fake messages going viral on social media. A fake message is going viral on social media that an order allegedly from the NIC claims that the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has prohibited some applications from being made available on the app stores. This viral message is nothing but another made-up news. This is completely false and inaccurate. There is no such order issued by the Ministry of Electronics and IT or the NIC. Now another fake news which is also being circulated on the various platforms claiming a stay on the central government employees' salary increase for 1 year. If you have read a piece of news, then beware, it is fake news and the central government has issued a clarification in this regard. Quoting an office memorandum of the Department of Personnel and Training, a media report had recently claimed that the central government had stayed the salary increase of its employees for a year. The World Health Organization has recorded the biggest one-day increase in the COVID-19 cases, with the Americas responsible for most of the new infections. The WHO said that more than 1,83,000 new cases were reported in the past 24 hours. The number of confirmed cases is partly a reflection of increased testing around the world. Now, the global confirmed COVID-19 cases have crossed 89.52 lakhs and the death toll has risen to 4,68,331. According to Johns Hopkins University, 89,52,428 cases of COVID-19 have been reported across the world. The US has suffered the most from the pandemic with 22,79,879 cases and 1,19,969 deaths. And Brazil has become the second country after the US to register more than 50,000 deaths linked to COVID-19. The grim milestone comes amid growing political unrest and days after the country confirmed more than 1 million COVID-19 infections. The experts warn that the peak of the outbreak in Brazil is still weeks away. New Zealand has extended its ban on the cruise ships arriving in the country. The current cruise ship ban was due to expire on 30th June. New Zealand has been one of the world's most successful countries in fighting the COVID-19. It has lifted all the internal restrictions, but measures at the border remain. In the early stages of the pandemic, the cruise ships have often been hotbed for the virus spreading, and several of them have spent weeks at the sea or quarantined in a harbor before passengers were allowed to disembark. Now, as countries open lockdown, Spain also reopened its borders to most European Union and the Schengen visitors on Sunday for a much-needed tourism boost as the country lifted the emergency declared on 14 March over COVID-19. At the Madrid airport, passengers were spotted returning to Spain or back to their countries after months under lockdown. Spain's health minister said that there will be 3 primary controls for tourists: a passenger location card with the basic data of the trip schedule and the health data from the person, a temperature check, and a visual control to ensure the traveler is healthy. And Italy's health ministry has asked government advisors to evaluate the new World Health Organization recommendation, saying that people with COVID-19 can come out of isolation before they test negative for the COVID-19. The WHO last week said that patients who spend 10 consecutive days in isolation with symptoms can be released if they are then symptom-free for at least 3 days. Previously, the WHO recommended ending the isolation of infected people only after they twice tested negative on the samples taken 24 hours apart. The change is significant given that many countries are grappling with how to deal with thousands of people who are technically infected with the virus but may not still pose a transmission risk to others. And the COVID-19 pandemic, which has virtually grounded global air traffic since March, has pushed several airlines struggling over the edge. Many global giants have seen record losses and have become dependent on the government bailouts to keep going. The pandemic has crippled the air travel, leading to an unprecedented number of flight cancellations globally as nations across the world began enforcing strict lockdown measures to curb the virus. Flights have been limited and strict hygiene measures have also been implemented to regain confidence in the industry at a time when many countries are lifting tight restrictions on mobility. The US Airlines cancelled hundreds of thousands of flights, including 80% or more of scheduled flights into June, as the US passenger traffic fell by 95% between March and May. The situation of the industry seems to go downhill at a swift pace. And let's now move on and get you more news. The 6th International Day of Yoga was celebrated the world over on Sunday, and in Toronto in Canada, people embraced yoga in the hot pop-up domes on the International Yoga Day. Now, this unique pop-up event was organized where people can practice yoga while maintaining social distancing. The yoga classes have been hosted by outdoor studio along with local fitness studio instructors. 50 outdoor private clear domes were set for each individual. The dome stands more than 2 meters tall and 3 meters wide, providing ample space for one person to partake in a yoga class. Each dome was inbuilt heating where temperature can exceed to 37 degrees Celsius. And however, all the domes were thoroughly cleaned and disinfected after every use to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The pop-up domes provides a consumer with a creative way to stay active, mindful and healthy with their instructors. In these challenging times of COVID-19, the regular fitness classes will help people experience hot yoga. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the news. Thanks for being with us.